Hello everyone, I'm here with Barbara4u2c here on USNN. Say hi.
Hello.
Right, so our first topic will be Charlottesville yesterday. Do you want to start?
um, Kind of. My thoughts are still a little scattered on this whole topic. I've been following it since it started. Um, I think that the whole event, the idea that it was called Unite the Right, kind of threw a very dark shade on the right wing, because a lot of people just thought that conservatives are represented by those people who are marching and hailing Hitler or whatever. Um, and then, of course, the tragic plowing through crowd happened, and now everybody says that the right wingers should be able to stop this, and that we agree with it. And it's just a mixture of a lot of people feeding people bullshit, and it literally made me want to close the internet and be like, okay, I'm out of here for today.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with you mostly. My thoughts is I haven't looked into it too much, but as far as I'm aware, it was a Unite the Right protest or march. White supremacists and neo-Nazis. Sorry.
Mm.
White supremacists and neo-Nazis came along, and Antifa showed up, and everything just went to shit from there.
They seem to show up to every fucking event.
They're everywhere, which is, I know they're more extreme in Germany, but in the US, you're quite lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we got anything else to discuss on that?
Um, I don't know. I think it's considering the events of yesterday, I think the alt-right might be getting out of control. I think the whole politics might be getting out of control a little bit, and it made me want to like stay away from them, because it's turning into a shit show, and everybody's just trying to be edgy and be extreme and do stuff like that, disregarding history entirely. And it just makes me wonder if people are so bored because we don't have wars going on in these states, that they just go through things like that. I don't know, it just made me a little bit disappointed in society in general and what we became, since apparently we're doing too well, that we're going on the streets and being white supremacists, because if we had to battle and fight for food, I don't think I don't think shit like that would be happening.
I can see where you're coming from with that, but it's an interesting thought, really, because I've always thought, this is going to digress a lot here, but if there's an alien civilization out there, there must be one that are in peace. They don't fight with each other.
Mm.
And I've always thought if they ever came to Earth, they might hold the secret to world peace, but that's another lane of thought.
Yeah, I agree.
So this week, the Google diversity memo, James Damore. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I already made a whole video about it.
Oh yeah, I saw.
It's a very interesting topic, actually. I researched all the past events from this year, all the lawsuits and everything that Google has been dealing with. And it's interesting how it's a chain reaction that brought to the Google memo in general. It was like a domino effect. And it's the perspective of Google employees about the Google memo is interesting as well, because I think people took it a little too personally.
Yeah. When I first read about it, I wasn't really surprised, but I know a lot of people would be jumping on this. There'll be all sorts of, you saw the leftists come out and say, "Oh, James Damore, what a racist and sexist."
It's sexist, yeah, of course, naturally.
Like, I think what he said was it? Oh, men and women are sometimes suited to different jobs than others, or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like I said in my video, like for example, if you just take my life, for example, I went to high school that was a little more to classical side. You had to pick like 3 languages to learn throughout 4 years, and you had Latin that was mandatory, and it was basically focused more on arts instead of, you know, chemistry and physics and stuff like that. And in my own class, I had 2 male colleagues, just 2 male classmates out of 26 people.
Wow.
And then I went to comparative literature at the university. At the whole university, I think it had around 50 male students out of 300, 400 students. And in my class, there was 5 of them out of 60 students, which is more art-based, of course. And now that I study performing arts, there was not a lot of male students either. And it is the truth that women tend to choose more aesthetic sides, more like gender studies or stuff like that, or nursing, or something to do with people and taking care of people, social workers. It is the truth. So that's why women are not interested in spending 12 hours over notebooks and doing math. I mean, not all women, of course, but in general, if you look at colleges, they're mostly attended by men. The mathematical colleges, or like engineering, or you know, anything that has to do with technology, it's 82% of students are male. So if we want to bring it to a 50-50 quota, we have to start there. But I just don't understand, why are we pushing girls to choose STEM if they are not interested? Why is there no campaign, oh, let's make men more interested in doing makeup? You know, it's like the opposite. It's just, I don't understand. Like, just let people do whatever they want to do, and just stop being so obsessed with 50-50. God damn it. Whew. Okay, I'm done.
It's another sort of reason for the gender pay gap that is, you know, this evil thing created by the patriarchy that just doesn't exist. For
It
one,
doesn't exist.
It's an earnings gap,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the reasons for that is men, they tend to choose different fields, and women, they make different life choices.
Yeah, like if you look at the most the deadliest jobs on this planet, they are covered 97% by males. Like, a man is 10 times more likely to die in a workplace than a woman, because men go after those jobs, and they are very highly paid, because you literally risk your life every day. That's one thing. And women tend to balance work life and personal life more. They care more to have outside of job life than men. Most men are capable and want to work 17 hours per day if they have to earn more, and women just tend to have time for themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. And therefore, when you bring those equations together, you realize that the difference is usually 5%, not, you know, what they're saying it is. And that's a understandable variable for every single research or difference between genders. So the pay gap, it does not exist. It never existed. I don't know a country that has, at least United States, I don't know the state that has men paying more for the same amount of work, the same qualifications, same location. It's bullshit.
Precisely. And this will link into our next topic, of course, which is feminism.
Mm.
So I know you've made a lot of videos on this topic.
Yeah.
And rightly so. So just give me a, let's say, image of what you think of feminism in 2017.
I think that the idea of what women have about feminism, it's to them it's something normal. To them, they think they need something like feminism to empower them and to feel stronger, and that's what they turn to this movement, thinking, oh, this is something where I can be united with women, and it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel strong, and makes me feel like I belong somewhere. But the behind the scenes of feminism is very corrupted, is very manipulative, and very exclusive, and very hateful towards the other gender. And a lot of women don't realize that, because they only see the good picture, the small one. But the bigger one is all about corruption and infiltrating into family structures and basically upside down.
Yeah, I'd tend to agree with that. I'd say the way I see it is it started off in, you know, the 1800s with the suffragette movement, you know, women's right to vote and whatnot, you know, quite, you know, the core of feminism, you know, some quite good points that we have in our modern day society and are accepted. And then it sort of evolved into this sort of vindictive, you know, evil name calling on men, which is just out to get men and hate on men, which is like feminism you see now.
And just, I don't agree with the fact that they are trying to convince women that they don't have power, and they're walking around saying that feminism is empowering them, because they're literally saying that without feminism they don't have the power, which in reality women have a lot of privileges over men that men don't, and that's just the reality. And if you are a person in a first world country, you have the same rights as the other gender. That's simple reality, and pretending that we are inferior is a little funny, considering, for example, if you just take voting. I mean, voting wasn't a right. It was a privilege, but they're forgetting to mention that most people didn't have voting rights. Only people with a lot of money had voting rights, and including women, women that did have certain amount of property in their possession were allowed to vote before everybody else did. And then later on, of course, it became a problem that they are not allowed to be included in politics, and that's fine and dandy. But they never had to be drafted. They were able to escape war and not be obligated to go and fight for the country. Whilst men, if they refused that draft, they would lose their chance to vote. They would be excluded from like some of the colleges, and they would have a lot of rights of them taken away. But women still have those voting rights no matter what. So we do have a lot of privilege that men don't. And feminism trying to push this idea that men are ruling the world, but forgetting about the history and forgetting the actual situation, is just only empowering the bad people. And speaking out against it is incredibly important, because if you don't know anything, if you don't look into it, it might seem like a very charity organization.
Yeah, if you look at the bigger picture, women are pretty much on the same level as men, but you know, women are more privileged to men in some aspects of life, and in some aspects men are. For example, in the Fortune 500, did you know that I think the average woman earns more than the average man? That's a real gender wage pay gap. I didn't hear any feminists say anything about that, not one bit.
Also, I don't hear them talking about the fact that they all are pointing out the wage gap. They don't point out the college gap, and they don't also point out the fact that more women tend to go to college than men do. And in 1970, it was the other way around. And then now it's like a large difference. For example, like 73% of women go to college, but like I think it's 52 or 53% of men. It's like a large gap, and they don't I don't know why they're not trying to change that either, because that presents a problem to me, you know, that every year less and less men decide to go to college or university, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like like college is not everything, but I don't know, it's just weird.
It is quite weird. There's all sorts, you know. I believe it's 99.9% of all deaths in the military are men. You know,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
loads, but you just never hear feminists say anything on it, and that
Mhm.
links to other aspects, you know, Islam and all that. Yeah, they always seem to support it.
Mhm.
Feminists, you know,
Mhm.
they refuse to look into Islam and see that it's very oppressive, very. Like, just look at Saudi Arabia. You know, you wouldn't be speaking to me if you were in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Like certain aspects of this religion or ideology, should I say, are definitely not women friendly, but it's such a delicate topic that almost if you're not say speaking highly about it, you must be a bad person, which I think is ridiculous. And I think that's why feminism is trying to adopt this ideology as well, to win more people over, because it is a corrupted movement, and they're doing everything they can to manipulate people into thinking that people can trust them. I mean, just the organizer of, I think it was the February's Women's March, or last year's, I think it was last year's, after Donald Trump was elected and there was the first Women's March. One of the organizers was actually convicted for contributing to a terrorist bomb attack in 2014, and was in trouble with immigration laws because she committed multiple immigration frauds. Yet she was the organizer of Women's March. You know, she was somebody people look up to and people follow, because they don't look into things. They don't look into corporations that are behind their precious movement. And that's why I think feminism is also trying to adopt Islam, because it just makes people think, oh, they're the good guys, because look at them, they're doing somebody a favor or something like that.
Yeah, it seems like some sort of weird alliance they have now. You know, the LGBT lobby, they're allying with Islam. You know, it's the most ironic alliance there is. You know, in Saudi Arabia, I think homosexuality is punishable by death.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think might be. I think 11 Muslim countries are the only 11 countries that punish homosexuality with death.
Yep, definitely. I know that there's way more than one. I know. So, and I've seen clips of people being thrown off the balconies.
Oh yeah, I've seen them.
And it is it is a little funny that they're parading around with flags and saying, "Oh, Islam is welcome here" and stuff like that. When in reality, if they went to their country, they would never return. You know.
Yeah, it's like the gay pride march in London a few months ago. There was on the pavement, they decorated it with all flags of countries saying "You're welcome here," and there was Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, I think Palestine. They don't like gays as well. It's just no, just how can no one see this?
And I think it's like I don't know. I think I kind of understand them, because when I was younger, when I was 14, 15, before I like decided that I'm gonna read newspapers every day, I had this idea of how the world works, and I wanted to be a kind person and genuine person, you know, and be supportive of everybody, and I would be okay with everything, and I would be, oh yeah, this and that. But then when you start actually, when you take the time and start looking into things and start reading and following the events, and throughout the years where so much crap just piles up and everything starts to make sense on one hand, and then starts losing its sense on the other, that's when you change your mind. But if you live in this bubble and you think that you're just this genuine person who's just accepting of everybody, you're gonna go out on the streets and parade with the flags they are parading, because they don't think about it. They think they're doing something good and they're being good people, but they're being very ignorant. And I don't think you should go to a protest without knowing absolutely everything about the topic that you're yelling about. But most people just don't take time out of the day, because politics is only fun if you can go out on the street and shout things. Nobody actually wants to read about things and follow the news, because that is just, ugh, that's boring, you know? It's easier to just pick something and say, oh, I contributed, I'm a good citizen now, or something.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Do you have any other topics to talk about? What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I know you're from Slovenia, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a quick question. Has Islam impacted Slovenia as bad as some other countries? Like, what's their sort of...
Honestly, the thing is, I haven't been home in over 2 years. I know that once the refugee crisis hit, 97% of refugees just passed through Slovenia. They didn't want to stay because it's a small country and we're very poor. I mean, for the time being, they stayed more. I think they stayed no more than 2 or 3 months. For the time being, the government did everything to make them feel included and welcome and fed them and stuff like that. But they mainly just passed through the country. So I think around 400 or even less refugees stayed. So I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if it had. I doubt it had any impact. Slovenia is a very, very small country, and I'm considering it as very conservative too. So I guess I'm kind of scared and kind of excited to go back home to see if anything actually has changed, but I doubt it influenced as much as, for example, Germany or Austria or Italy or any of my neighbor countries, actually.
Yeah, from my view of Slovenia, I've never really been there. I've seen images of the place, and I'm not an expert. You know, I never lived there. I never went there.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems a country where, if you were a refugee or an economic migrant, they're pretty much economic migrants, they wouldn't go to Slovenia. They go to somewhere like Sweden or Germany or the UK, where I am, because their welfare system is higher.
Exactly, their welfare system is way better. It's easier to blend in with the crowd. It's a lot easier to be an economic immigrant and go to a largely populated city. That's why I've heard from their own mouths saying that they don't want to stay, for example, in Croatia, which is my neighbor country, or in Slovenia, because we're too poor. Like they literally said, no, why would say Slovenia? Slovenia is a poor country. We want to go to Germany. And they didn't, while staying there, large portion of them did not behave very well. They did they set a camp on fire, and they were throwing water bottles around that the army brought for them and stuff like that. And they said that either Serbia or Croatia that they passed through, that it stinks and it was horrible and they didn't want to stay there. So that tells you everything and a lot, because if you're actually fleeing from something that is putting your life in danger, I don't think that you treat a country that has been nothing but kind to you that way, you know. So that's why they are hitting the larger cities, because it's just easier to get things there and it's easier to find a place that would fit their vision of a new life that they're creating for themselves.
Yeah. Slovenia, yeah, you're right. They wouldn't go there. If they were genuine refugees, they wouldn't. They'd be happy if they were in Slovenia, because there's not bombs going off. They're not under a threat from ISIS or anything. As far as I'm aware, there's no ISIS there.
Yeah,
sure.
no.
Yeah.
Slovenia doesn't have a lot of criminal at all. Like it is one of the safest countries to live in Europe in general. Hopefully that will never ever change, because like I said, we're not a target. We are not a danger to other countries. We don't present a problem because we're so small that it's almost as we're insignificant, as cruel as it sounds, but it's still a home to everybody who has been born there, including me. So if everything goes well, I want to grow old in my country, if I'm able to get my life to a certain point where I can sustain myself and not be worried that I'm going to be hungry, I do want to grow old in Slovenia just because of how safe, how clean, and how nice it is over there. And I wanted to stay that way. So I'm kind of glad that they only passed through, because I've seen the results of mass immigration in other cities, and it literally hurts me.
Yeah, I think, good luck to you if you want to go back to Slovenia. I hope you do well there. I'm sure you'll be quite successful. You speak multiple languages, don't you? Yeah. What are they? It's Slovenian, English, and someone else. A couple others. Yeah. So good luck to you. Do you have anything to say before we end off? Is there anything else we need to talk about?
Probably just the message to everybody who will listen to this, to have your head screwed on your body and think with your own mind. Don't follow the crowd ever.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Take everything with a grain of salt. You see in the media. Do your own investigations.
Yeah, or even if you see people in the community talking about it, do research first and then talk about it, because I've seen that even within the skeptic community, it became a thing that everybody seems to follow a certain direction without, doing their own research, because you can tell. That's why.
Yeah. So I say. Yeah, as you said before about the protests, if you're going to go to a protest, do your research, know what that protest is about, what it's fighting for, the leaders, everything. You want to be prepared. You want to be 100% that you are fighting. Of course, you do solely believe in.
Definitely.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching. I'll put Barbara's channel in the description. I hope you've enjoyed. I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks, but there'll be plenty more content coming from my colleagues and me when I'm back. Thank you for watching, everyone. Do you want to say goodbye, Barbara?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a pleasant talking to you.
No problem. It's been a pleasure talking to you too. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a good one.